It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
I want to play a game.
Hello and welcome to the Sounds from the Grave podcast. My name is Yussef.
And my name is Vania.
And they're here.
This quote was actually sent to us by Erin because she was our second place winner during our HHN at home contest that we had. So congratulations, Erin, again, and I hope you are enjoying your clock. So yeah, we have some things to talk about. I know that we had a bit of a delay with everything, especially with we have not been recording it. We've been so busy visiting other haunts and all the kind of the events. So yeah.
Yeah, it's very true. But yeah, it's finally getting down to it. It just took us a while. It's busy on both ends with work and school and such. But we're here now, and today we're doing two haunts for you guys. We're going to be talking about HHN Light, really fun time, and then we're going to be talking about our experience at Morrow's Nightmare down by the Tampa area.
Yeah, so I actually like Diet HHN better because it's funnier, at least to
Diet
me.
HHN.
But HHN Light also works as well. I wonder if like anybody in Universal actually like acknowledges those names. Like in a way, I feel like Universal did a little bit on their Twitter, but I'm not too entirely sure.
Yeah, that's very possible. I think they did acknowledge. I think they acknowledged HHN Light just because I think they didn't want to go for the diet type of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. So yeah, we're gonna be talking about those two haunts. I'm very excited to get into it. I know you're very excited to get into it. So
yeah, I mean, I definitely enjoyed that weekend. So
Yeah.
let's get started.
I did too. So I want to start off with you specifically, your experience with Horror Nights, because I know you were up there at the crack of dawn.
So don't get me started on that weekend. I was up every day at 4 a.m. just to do makeup, get into costume and all that other stuff. But I always tried to make sure to be at Universal at 6 a.m. There were already people basically lining up at the parking area for Universal, and there were some interesting sights. I feel like the first day they were literally people trying to cut off other people, almost starting fights, like
Yeah.
literally at 6 a.m. And I'm like, why do we need to start this at 6 in the freaking morning? Like, we're all just trying to get to the same place. But at the same time, I feel like the first day was actually just a madhouse in general. I went with my friend Caitlin, but props to her to actually accompany me to the entire event and whatnot. So I was definitely there from like maybe 7:30 a.m., which is, well, they let the cars through at 7 o'clock, but once you do like security and all that other stuff, all the walking, is about 7:30. But the doors didn't actually open until 9. So yeah, I was there for a bit. And, Jonathan from Hung Up on Theme Parks came to meet up with us. And also Christy from Orlando, Dakota, which is the first time I ever met Christy. She is such a loving character in general.
Yeah.
She's the biggest sweetheart, and definitely check her out at Orlando, Dakota. But it was a bit of a morning.
Yeah, I didn't wake up as early as you did. You kind of got mad at me though, because you were like, "I'm already here," and I got here. I got there at like 8 o'clock, and
He always does that. He always fucking does that.
But funny enough, because you were there early, I got to skip everybody's line and just meet up with you and Caitlin and Jonathan and Christy. And not only that, I got to meet the Pew too, and they're so nice. They were such awesome people.
My meeting with them was so very brief, but they are definitely some nice people, and they actually like recognized me, and it was really fun. So like, I love you guys. If you guys are watching this, like, they're also amazing people. Please follow them. They do anything from theme parks to like crazy stuff at home. So please just check them out.
Yeah, they're super awesome. I love their YouTube channel. And yeah, it's funny because I was so ready to vlog and like get ready for it. Literally the moment I pulled out my little stabilizer and was about to start recording. They opened the doors, and we hauled ass. We hauled
So
ass.
basically, what actually happened was that a manager came out and they said that the reservations will be opening up on the virtual line on
Mhm.
the Universal app at 9 o'clock, but they were going to let us in around like 8:48 ish,
Yeah.
8:50, and they said we're going to give you guys the opportunity to fill up the standby line. So once that's all filled up, then we're going to actually open up the virtual queue, and then everybody has an equal chance kind of to experience both houses. So something that did strike to me was that the annual pass did say that if you had a virtual line pass for one house, it worked for both houses from the preview and the team member, but it didn't work that way
Mhm.
during opening weekend. So for at least the other annual pass holders and people who are visiting, so they were like, "Oh yeah, just haul ass to like one house, and then like once you get out, do it for the other."
Yeah.
So basically, we ran so fucking quick to Tooth Fairy because it was something that was being talked a lot about in the whole Twitter community and on Facebook and all this kind of stuff. So once we got done out of Tooth Fairy, then we were, strategizing within our group, trying to get as much equal chances to see the houses just as much.
It was.
But
I thought it was
I'm
like the
gonna
funniest
actually,
thing because as soon as we, like we're not gonna talk about the houses here. We're gonna leave that for later. But I just love the fact that as soon, like the moment we stepped foot outside of Tooth Fairy, we were all already on our phones. And we're like, okay, virtual queue, virtual queue, virtual queue. Okay, I got this many. Okay, for this time. Okay, I got another one for this time. And
yeah, it was insane. I did not get any of the virtual queue lines, but thankfully that you guys had like fast fingers. I have like something called like kind of like a delay of fingers because I want something so bad that I don't feel like I'm clicking stuff fast enough, and I'm scared of making a mistake. So that was probably like my first mistake
mm,
anyway, but I was still able to see the houses as much, but we will talk about that later.
yeah, something I do want to mention too before I move on to the next subject, talking about the actual virtual queue experience because for the most part it was working fine. We did run into a little bit of a hitch at one point during the day where we had reserved a spot for everybody in our party for Bride of Frankenstein, and when one of our party members was checking it and verifying the time on it, uh, it had condensed or like glitched out, I guess, and brought down our party to only two people. We're like, okay, that's messed up. That's not right. And he was like, and then we were like, oh, let's just restart the app, try it again.
Then it gets better, folks.
Yeah, exactly. So then we were like, okay, let's close down the app, restart it, try it again. We did that. We opened the app. We go back to the virtual line, and our virtual queue was gone. Just gone. It didn't exist. Like you couldn't even go into virtual queue. Like nothing happened. So we were scared shitless because we were like, "Oh fuck, are we gonna do? We lost our spot."
And
Uh,
one of us in the group forgot to take
a
a
screenshot.
screenshot.
Yeah,
So we were scared that they were not going to believe us in
yeah,
our story and all this stuff. I mean, Universal is a little bit more lenient than Disney. Sorry. But, like, of course, like, it was just something that was so hard to prove that we weren't sure because this was opening, like, weekend. So we were, like,
yeah,
definitely, like, yo, that sucks that, like, we got to see Tooth Fairy, but we didn't get to see Brides. It was
yeah.
that kind of thing. But yeah, but it all turned out everybody was actually having the same problem in the
Hmm.
park. They just said to come back to the team members so they can let us through.
Yeah. And it was so nice of guest services, specifically the gentleman that helped us out. He was super nice about it. He was like, "Yeah, here's what you guys got to do." He took care of us like super easy, and we had no issues at all in going into the houses again. So, major
I
props
wish
for
I grabbed his
Universal, like
name.
trying their best
Yeah,
to accommodate for everybody.
I wish I grabbed his name to just give him like the
I
high five that they do.
Yeah, I gave him a fist bump on Twitter. I think his name was Ron, if I'm not mistaken, because that was like 3 weeks ago or like 2 weeks ago. That was a long time ago already. But yeah, I gave him a fist bump on there. He was super chill, super nice guy, and yeah, he definitely deserved that fist bump because couldn't have asked for a better experience with a team member.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But moving on from that, there, as part of Diet HHN, because now I'm gonna start calling that. I'm gonna start calling it that. Um, there were not outside of the houses. There was a lot more stuff that we could experience. There was a really fun scarecrow stock, and there was also new theming around Cafe La Bamba, and that was a lot of fun too. But Vanya, let's go ahead and get started with that. Go ahead and talk a little bit about the scarecrow stock.
So we did. At first we had a bit of trouble finding the maps because
Yeah.
they were flying, and the fact that we were just trying to see if they would restock. I'm pretty sure they were going to restock, but it's just the fact that people kept constantly coming after it. The minute they would refill, it was just kind of hard to get it. But yeah, so we managed to get one, and then we just started and. We went through each one of the stores, the designated stores on the map, and there's like a different like a theming to each scarecrow. I know that there's one in Bourne, one in Men in Black, one in SpongeBob, ET. No, not ET. Delete that. But it's close to ET. There's one in godforsaken Fast and Furious. Mummy.
I
I
think the
forgot
Irish
what
shop had one over by
Irish.
Finnegan's.
Hmm.
Obviously, the main Universal store had one. The Shrek store
Yeah,
had one, and the Minion store had
yeah.
one.
The Minion store was definitely cute,
Yeah,
but it's just the fact that I had like a little tiny skull that had like clown painting on it,
yeah,
and I'm like, that's suspicious as fuck. But you know, it was definitely an activity that we can do as adults because since they can't have trick or treating for us specifically,
yeah.
just for kids, this is kind of like their version of them giving us stuff. And the day after, after the first day, my bad, they actually had a promotion that if you did the scarecrow stock, they gave you 30% off the bulk, like if you wanted to buy bulk
I
candy
didn't know
at
that.
the yeah, that was a thing that they if you completed everything on the second day, well not the second day, but you know, Sunday, they had the promotion that if you complete it, you get 30% off the bulk candy. So
I didn't know that.
that
That's
was
pretty
also
cool.
pretty neat.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So yeah, the way that it worked is you would go to each store, look at all the scarecrows, and you would get a stamp by a team member on your map. And then once you got all 13 stamps, you would take it to one of the candy shops in the park, and they would give you your choice of a little bag of candy. So that was a cool little experience, a nice way for us to walk around the park, appreciate some of the work that Universal Creative put into those scarecrows, and I feel like they did a really good job with those. They were really cool.
So which one would you say was your favorite?
It's a little bit of a toss up. It really depends on me having to go back to the park and kind of seeing them again. But it's between the Scarecrow and MIB because I love the whole alien look that they gave him with like the broken space helmet and like all the messed up clothing, and not only that, even the fact that like the little decorations that I noticed detail wise. Um, for example, he had like these little flowers next to him, and if you notice that the flowers, like the petal, not the petals, like the front, the center of the flowers, they had eyes, which I thought was really cool. And second or tied for first, it would be the cyber pumpkin scarecrow from the Transformers store. Like it looked amazing. Like it was like they went to a junkyard and grabbed whatever they could find, and they're like, let's build a scarecrow out of this. And I loved it. It looks so cool.
For me, I think the one in Transformers was definitely one of my favorites. But honestly, I like you need to go big or go home. I like the one that the Universal store because that thing is
Yes,
humongous, and
and
I absolutely like that thing towering over me. I'm just like, yes, like this
yeah,
is this is the Halloween spirit I needed. So yeah, it's the one in Transformers is definitely amazing. So is like he said, they grab stuff out of a junkyard, just a whole bunch of knickknacks here and there. There's some parts that look wrong, but at the same time, like it did work for that
yeah,
look. So absolutely.
yeah. And it's for those of you that are watching on YouTube, you we've probably been able to see some of the footage that we recorded of some of the scarecrows, so you guys can get a look if you haven't had a chance to go to the parks or you just haven't gone to the parks. So yeah, it's that way you guys can get a glimpse of some of the scarecrows and see how cool they were and design wise how awesome and just the amount of detail and the amount of craftsmanship put into it was really cool. So definitely check those out.
The scarecrow stock was always constantly happening, even throughout this season, right?
I think so. Because I know the houses are running this until the end of October, or so like the third day of November or something like that. And I think the scarecrows are going to run all throughout that.
Yeah. So I mean, if that's something that you guys are definitely like interested in doing, definitely check it out. The candies are basically anywhere from sour gummy worms to gummy bears. A lot of like the traditional, like really fruity stuff.
Yeah.
Nothing with like chocolate or anything. But I'm pretty sure it's because they have to prepackage these things before you come to the park and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
definitely check that out.
Yeah. Plus, first of all, sour candy, like sour gummy worms, are the shit. And if you say different, we're gonna have a problem.
I love sour gummy worms, but like I let my dad have them, so I just grabbed the gummy bears the next day, and it made up the difference, so it's fine.
Okay, because gummy bears are second, like close to first for me. I love gummy bears.
I love chocolate, but they weren't offering that. So now we're gonna go talk about the little mini scare zone that they kind of created in La Bamba. Words.
In Alibaba. So something I also wanted to mention that I thought was a good idea with the scarecrow stock on Universal's behalf was how this was a good way for them to kind of spread out the crowds, because I'm pretty sure they assumed that it being the first weekend that they were going to be doing the houses, it was going to be packed. So they were like, let's do this. It's a good way to relieve the crowds in the houses, relieve the crowds around the park, constantly keep people moving so they don't crowd around all in one spot, and try to keep it as safe as possible. So kudos to Universal for doing that.
Oh, and that's also another thing. Like, I mean, the first day was a bit of a mess for regular visitors. I'm pretty sure it was easier for the premier passes and for the team members and whatnot. But the fact that the first day they made us haul ass, and yeah, everybody was like crowding around the park a little bit. It got a little bit uncomfortable, and like especially if you're still worried about what's happening in the world. But at the same time, it's just like they did an actual like good job, like just reminding people the markers on the floor, and especially being very patient with like the return times. I had an instant where like I was having trouble reserving a virtual queue. I had actually did one instead of two people, so I was like explaining to the manager like, hey, like I meant to get it for two people. It's me and my dad, and like I'm kind of scared to go by myself, and they were very understanding, so they let me go through. So they have been more than patient with people when it comes to the virtual queues and how to deal with all that kind of stuff. So you are able to see the houses. There were times and periodically where they would make sure that if they were done with all the virtual queues, they will have a chance to go in. But that's something that we'll talk about a little bit more.
Yeah. But so moving on to our next subject, we're going to be talking about the little hunt experience that Universal provided for us inside of Cafe La Bamba. And yeah, go ahead and explain a little bit more about that.
So they did like a little. So if you guys do remember back in February-ish, they had the Mardi Gras area for the tribute store for that, and they had like kind of like a little mini scare zone bayou. And so since it wasn't used that much, they were able to incorporate it into this little scare zone or haunt area. So they actually made it into all like a voodoo-esque little scare zone. You had like very bayou New Orleans kind of food, especially some vegan options for you guys that are vegan. And they also had like specialty drinks. But those are kind of special.
Yeah.
If you guys want to find out more about that, just go visit a theme park bar. He's great. He'll explain that to you, or I'll probably gonna have Yussef explain that
Yeah.
to you. But yeah, so they use like little trinkets here and there. They added the voodoo guy again from the Mardi Gras tribute store. So it was a fun time. We had this, I forgot the name of the drink. So Yussef, if you know the name of the drink.
I don't remember either, but I just remember it was pretty good. It was
it had like what, chamomile tea
It
and
was
rum,
like-
I think it was.
Yeah, it was like a specific type of rum, chamomile tea, and I think lemon juice.
Yeah,
It definitely
that
tastes
one
like
is actually
lemonade-ish.
like the best of all the drinks.
From
though.
what I've heard, yeah.
Yeah, but there is the circus peanut. Awful.
Oh, no.
I didn't try it, but it sounds exactly what it is. I mean, at first when I heard about this drink, I thought Jack the Clown or like, circus themed, kind of themed a little bit around the icons a little bit.
Mhm.
Absolute garbage. There was like banana liqueur in
Oh,
there
God.
with like some spiced whiskey, I think it was. And
Yeah, it was like a.
bro, what?
It was. Yeah, I can't even decide. God, it was like, but like it was like peanut butter whiskey. That's what it was. It's peanut butter whiskey and like banana cream, vanilla liqueur, or something like that.
Yeah, it sounds great.
No.
When you put it in words.
No,
But when you actually
actually
taste
taste
it,
it,
I've
yeah.
heard that it's literally like hell in your mouth. Like,
yeah,
and then there was the other one that apparently it was just as bad, but I forgot the name of that one. But
yeah, that's the like. It apparently was like super spicy or something. Like, 'cause they put like it was like chili powder, like chili flakes inside of it. or something like that.
yes, brave souls.
Ah,
But yeah, so the one that definitely stuck out as like the worst one was Circus Peanut,
Yeah.
and yeah, so
If
I
you
don't know
guys,
if they ever gonna change the food options for the alcohol because of that opening night.
Yeah.
But we'll probably find out later if we have the chance to
Yeah.
go back and tell you guys about it.
If you want to get the most honest reaction to the Circus Peanut, definitely check out Theme Park Bar's video about it, because this reaction just explains so much about how bad it was.
So basically, he just kind of tries theme park drinks and basically rates them. Sometimes he recreates them, but for the Circus Peanut, like he actually does a very honest reaction, and it's literally like the most hilarious thing ever. And it has so many retweets.
Yeah,
So if you guys are very curious, please head on to his Twitter. It's fucking funny.
it really is. Yeah, yeah. And food option wise, I thought there was a good amount, not a huge selection of foods, but I think they were really creative with the actual food itself. Like you said earlier, there were some vegan options, like the jacked up mac and cheese, which was completely vegan, and we didn't try that, but I know Christy from Orlando, Dakota, she tried it, and she said it was pretty good. Had a little bit of like a spicy kick to it, which I was like, if I ever go back to the parks, I'm definitely gonna get that. I really want to try that and see how good it is. But I did have it was like a chicken shish kebab or something like that. That was like drizzled in like a mango sauce, and also had like small pieces of mango next to it, and it was really good. It was delicious. A little small, a little bit pricey, but overall the taste was really good.
Yeah, I didn't have any of the little options there because I nothing really spoke to me, but I think the macaroni and cheese will definitely like something that I want to try next time I go.
So now we're getting to the moment you guys have all been waiting for. If you haven't experienced them yet, we're going to be talking about our thoughts and our experiences with the two houses that we did for this event for Horror Nights, and we had a really good time. Not gonna lie, like, yeah,
Yeah, it was definitely something that I didn't expect it from a perspective like with everything going on in the world that this is something that we thought we genuinely weren't going to have this year, and Universal has been more than like gracious than to give us something so precious as these two houses. So I think we should start with Tooth Fairy.
yeah. Because I think we should, just because that was the first one that we did, so that was our first experience with the houses.
Okay, so with Tooth Fairy, Definitely the best thing about Tooth Fairy is the facade. I don't care what anybody tells me otherwise. It is an amazing facade, especially if you're really appreciative of art.
Yes.
So if this is something that, you're definitely into, especially like storybook wise. So just think scary tales, but with like pencil drawn art and all that kind of stuff. So it's definitely something that is amazingly beautiful.
Yeah, I'm definitely 100% agree with you on that. Opinion wise, might be a little bit too early to tell right now, but I would say it's up there with one of my favorite facades because it was just so creative with how they did it, and I love the fact that they didn't just give you a static facade like boom, here you go. They because it's meant to look like a book, they kind of made it look like a pop-up book where they had like little things like moving back and forth in that facade, like, almost like the little taps you would put in a pop-up book, and that was really cool. Like they added that detail in there, so that was
Yeah.
great.
So I want to give you guys like the gist of Tooth Fairy. Tooth Fairy is about a little boy named James, little spoiled James. He's like what about? I want to say like 3 to 5 years old. I want to rank him. I don't know.
So yeah,
Like around
I'd say
that.
maybe a little. I'd say maybe a little bit older, just because like at least when you enter the facade and you hear his voice, he sounds a little bit older. So I would say maybe like 6 or 7, something like that.
I mean, but would you lose your first baby teeth at that age? Though?
Oh, I don't know. I don't remember when I started losing my baby teeth.
I think I was like 3, so I don't know.
I don't know.
A little bit of insider story there. So he loses his first tooth, and his
nanny.
His nanny was like, he needs to give away his tooth so they can reward him and that kind of thing, and not massacre his. But but basically, little James is like, hell no, you cannot have my tooth, and everybody can just literally like get off my back, so it's that kind of thing. So the nanny does warn him, and then after he says no, basically he says, no, you can't have it, basically a little boy voice, and it's just the most annoying little bratty thing ever. But we all come to love this character, because if not, we would not have the story that we would have today.
I'm sorry, love James?
Because without his conflict, we wouldn't have this wonderful house.
I know. Well, yes, I understand that. I know, but I mean, like I said, an actual person. He's a little piece of shit.
Oh, he's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
I love the character, because if it wasn't for him,
we
would not have our beautiful fairies. We would not be having our beautiful fairies.
As a person, he's so unlikable.
Oh, he's definitely unlikable, but thanks to him, we have beautiful creatures.
Yeah, we got.
So once you guys do familiarize yourself with the Tooth Fairy story, they're not so cute. They're not so magical, pixie ducksy, Tinkerbell, whatever the hell you want to call it. But they are these gruesome little vampiric ugliness, and they're small little creatures, and they are literally the most terrifying thing. So basically, just think of the Hive had a baby with what? What
sort of alien. I would say like your basic, like stereotypical gray skinned alien, like the big eyes type of thing.
Yeah, so the house Hive had a baby with scary tales. That's basically Tooth Fairy.
Pretty much. So, yeah. It's a good combination.
So
the love child of Scary Tales and Hive.
Yeah, so if you guys
after a night of very heavy drinking, a lot of just emotions being spilled out there.
Where did the night of heavy drinking come from? What?
I'm trying to add background to it, okay? That's so like how this baby was created.
I don't think it's that much of a mess.
It was just like angry, hateful, but passionate sex that led to Tooth Fairy.
I really hope no one under 18 is listening to this.
It's like, how can I make this as awkward as possible?
So, children who like HHN, do not repeat what you see on this podcast or hear, or else, you will end up like little James and his family.
Yeah, don't do that. Do to
So,
quote a very famous show. Don't do it at your house. Do it at a friend's house.
love that show. But
Yeah.
anyway, so Tooth Fairy, me personally, I enjoy this house a lot. It's not my favorite, but it's definitely after going through it a couple of times, like I definitely learned like how to appreciate this house and the story behind it, especially like with all the details of the house from the storytelling perspective. I know that to a lot of people, the storytelling may seem very confusing, but I feel like it's one of those things where it is a little bit it could have been told better, but I feel like it was still worked. The one part that they do I feel like a lot of people were confused was the fairy jubilee, when we were supposed to be going into the fairy world, and basically it just looks like a locked up dungeon, which I get, but I feel like it totally made sense from that transition from James's manor or house or whatever you may want to call it to the fairy jubilee.
Yeah, I personally, at least the first time that I went on it, I was a little bit disappointed. Not because of like the precautions that they had to take, because we definitely need to talk about that. Precautions wise for the safety of everybody, there was plexiglass and plastic sheeting covering the boo holes, so the characters couldn't get too close. Not invade your social distancing space. So obviously that affected the house a little bit. Affected both of the houses a little bit, but that wasn't a huge issue or anything. I mean, I understand where it's coming from. It doesn't bother me. But my feeling of disappointment just came from the actual house, and I was definitely confused by the story. Just I think it was because of like it was kind of sensory overload. I guess I don't know if they were having issues with like audio and stuff like that, because everything just felt like it was all at the same audio level, and I couldn't distinguish what was being said and what was the sounds and the music. Like everything was kind of jumbled together in my head, and so the first time I did it, I was a little disappointed because I was like, I don't get what's happening, and that frustrated me a little bit. But once I did the house a couple more times, I started getting the story, and the story is definitely really good. I know you're gonna hate me on this. I don't love the fairy design. I don't love it because I feel like it's something that I've seen before plenty of times at Horror Nights, and I just didn't
That's
feel like it
because
was.
they reused the freaking
I
same mask.
know,
Stop giving it so much shit.
I know, but I don't know. Just like I, at least personally for me, I would have found it a lot scarier. And this is something that I talked about when we left the house that day. If the tooth fairy wasn't like a fairy per se, like your typical type of fairy, but if it was like a dentist, like a fairy dentist type of thing, with like surgical tools and stuff like that would terrify me. There's plenty of people are afraid of the dentist and like stuff having to do with your mouth. So
Why? Just I don't.
I mean, that's just my
Anyway, if you
opinion.
guys are listening to me on the podcast, sorry, I just probably gave you a heart attack. Anyway, but you should see me on YouTube. I'm like literally giving him like
The
the
look.
harshest, confused look. Like, why? I will agree with you on this. There were a lot of gruesome deaths with teeth in that house.
Hmm.
But the one part that did not make sense to me was the it's kind of like the drill sound, and you just saw the dentist tool there, and I'm like, where did that come from?
So
Why is that there? And then, but everywhere else, it was just like not like teeth utensils. They were all like kind of like creative, like especially I like the one with like the girl with like her teeth all messed up and then like her jaw's practically dislocated and all this other stuff. I thought that was like a really cool like way to die. And another one with the was the I think it was the butler. I think it was that
was
he
it the one
was
that had like his mouth like
yeah
ripped open?
yeah his like teeth was all like not his mouth was really wide open, but his teeth were hooked each and every one to be
Mhm.
spread out. And I thought that was a really creative way to like look about it than a dentist type. So after you see the girl with her dislocated jaw, like, and you see her like kind of clawing at herself a little bit, like trying to ask you for help, immediately to your left there is like a drilling dentist tool that is somehow like on the wall. I forget what the position was, but then that was like the only really dentist tool that I
Mhm.
saw there. So I don't know what kind of relevancy it comes with the dentist plus the tooth fairy, because I feel like the tooth fairy had like very creative ways instead of in a dentist manner to do things.
Mm. Well, noticing like small details too is the girl with the dislocated jaw. If we were to look at her mouth closely, she had like pieces of floss in her jaw, and the butler that had like the teeth pulled out that was wrapped around, it was wrapped around in floss. So it was like dental tools in a way, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I feel like it was string in a way, but I mean,
Hmm.
I think next time I'm just gonna have to look more closely. But another detail that it really does help you with the story, because sometimes their audio for the narrator is not 100%. What does help is looking on the walls, because it's somehow written on the walls. There's some parts of the house that at least I didn't see did not have the writing on the walls, and you have to like really sit there like almost near the amplifier in a way to kind of hear what he's saying.
Yeah.
But in a lot of the rooms, you do see the words on the wall, just being written.
Hmm. Yeah, I think it's just to feed into that concept of you're walking through a storybook. So it's like little quotes here and there. I don't want to get into too much
Yeah,
detail, just so that just
that
because I don't want
definitely
to really
helps.
spoil much, though. So there, like, again, there were certain things that I didn't particularly like when it came to design. Outside of the creature design, um, I felt like a lot of it took place inside of that manor, and I feel like it could have taken a little bit more place in the Fairy Jubilee. Like I would have liked to see more of the Fairy Jubilee.
Yeah, I mean, I wish there was a concept that we can talk about that, a little bit and more theorize. Um, the one fairy that sticks out to me the most is the one that looks like a little boy. And it makes me really do believe that, uh, James eventually just turns into this tooth fairy. But like I said, I don't want to give away too much, but it's just the fact that I think that's a unique concept in a way, but I
Mhm.
don't know to what extent we. I wish what we could have seen is a time where I know that these characters can't get too close to one another either. Is like we see like somehow, some way James being taken away and transformed into this tooth fairy, because there is a tooth fairy that resembles his outfit, and it just makes you think that he just turned into one of them,
Mhm.
which the nanny does say something like that, but is it for sure? I don't know.
Yeah, me neither. Um, Another thing too is this is something I talked about with Jonathan too. I wanted more of a teeth motif, especially in the Fairy Jubilee, because that's where they go after they pull teeth out, like, or they take the teeth. Like I wanted to see like teeth everywhere, like almost like the catacombs of Paris with all the skulls, but instead of skulls, it's just lines and lines of teeth. Like that would have been creepy.
Yeah, having teeth all over the fairy jubilee. Yeah, my trypophobia is not going to go crazy, right?
See, like that for me is just
Yeah.
creepy and scary.
Like if
It's
you guys
very
ever seen I know that this is from a movie on Shutter, but the minute you sign up for Shutter or log in, there is like this teeth monster covered in teeth. And that shit gives me like the worst trypophobia ever. I have to like literally not look at it while I'm logging into Shutter, like, oh fuck, like I don't want to look at it type thing. So my irrational fear is fear of holes basically cluster of holes, especially on skin. But it is not limited to just holes. It's just like anything that sticks out that has like empty gaps in it. And it's just like, this freaks me out. And so basically, if you're gonna be having that in the Fairy Jubilee, then I don't want it.
See, I would have thought that would have been awesome. Like that would have been such a cool character design if it was like the Tooth Fairy King or something like that. Like, he's just like covered in teeth and like all of his clothing is made from teeth and stuff like that.
Catch me outside throwing up. Like, I'm not scared of the dentist. If anything, the dentist fucking hurts.
Yeah.
It hurts so bad. Because especially if you like sweets like me, you're guilty of that kind of thing. And alcohol. But other than that, it's just like, oh my gosh. So like, I feel like the concept worked well, but at the same time, like, this was, I think it was a concept work by Patrick before, like, he was, dismissed out into the great open world. So I will appreciate what is left of at least his work. And because I know that he's been working on this story since 2018.
Yeah.
And mind you guys, that Tooth Fairy has been on the lowest on the radar for the speculation maps. Nobody thought it was going to come because it was literally like something that it just went over people's heads. Nobody talked about it. It was speculated a lot in 2018, never happened, but this was the year that it actually was perfected into coming back to life. And yeah, so this was definitely, at least for me, a pleasant surprise. I know that some people, like Yussef here, did not appreciate it, but
It's not that I didn't appreciate it. It's just that I feel that there are a lot of things that could have been done better.
Yeah, I mean, maybe who knows if they do bring back this house next year, they might do some additions, things that will make it more make sense. And man, you know what? Now that I think about it, the story is called Revenge of the Tooth Fairy. There are many Tooth Fairies, different kinds.
Yeah. So like she has an
So
army.
there has to be something
Like the
else
Tooth Fairy has an army.
there, but like I feel like it's something that they just couldn't work on because they have to deal with makeup and wardrobe and having someone look similar the entire time. But I don't know. We'll see.
Possible. But yeah, that's all we're really going to talk about when it comes to Revenge of the Tooth Fairy. Because like I said, I don't really want to spoil anything for you guys. But we're going to talk about Bride of Frankenstein.
Bride of Frankenstein lives, to be correct. So I literally live and breathe Bride of Frankenstein all day, every day. The minute they announced the merch, I was on that shit. And the fact that I literally love the design of her, especially for a cover, was definitely like amazing. Especially like now that there's like the cute couple, the Queen of the Silver Screen, King of the Silver Screen.
Yeah.
And it's literally like the cutest couple thing that they could have ever come up with. And I'm not even mad about it.
Yeah. I was very happy with the way that they introduced the fact that this was going to be one of the houses with like the amount of merch that was released.
Honestly, I was very impressed with like the storytelling because the storytelling was literally complete from beginning to end. There was a conflict, but this was something that I did bring up to the group. Why would Bride reject the monster, then somehow want to bring him back to life? That's the question that I still managed to like ask myself. Then why? So if you guys will know that this is no surprise to anybody, they do have the description of the story on the Universal website, and it does specify that she rejects him, and then all of a sudden, like, she wants him back. It's like that's something that just didn't like fall right with me. But either way, it still made an amazing story. It's an amazing concept, especially like incorporating all the fantasy stuff that comes along with the Universal Monster Universe.
Yeah, it was very cool. Yeah, I agree with you. The story-wise, there was a weird discrepancy there when it came to that part, in terms of her rejection and then wanting him back. But I was, I was okay with it. I overlooked it just because like the actual story of what she was doing to bring him back was just so good that I was like, I can overlook that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just the fact that so basically the story is that he's dead. That's no surprise to anybody if you guys haven't seen the movie. Shame on you. But other than that, we do see her crying over him, and it's just like one of those things that then this was another loophole. I'm sorry. I'm like up to the T with the movie. She didn't know how to speak. All she knows how to do is scream. So it's one of those things where she finally learns a dialect out of nowhere, which is really interesting. I'm like, how do you know how to speak? So we do hear her tell the story a little bit, like not as bad as the narrator, where it's like a little bit tuned out, but we do hear her voice a little bit clearly,
Yeah.
and basically explaining that how he wants him back and how she's gonna do everything in her power to bring him back. So she starts to do illegal things in another universe with Dracula's brides, using their blood to bring him back to life. You know, transfusion or whatever you may want to call that. And then she starts capturing them, and the brides are not okay with that. So they start coming after the bitch. So it's like this big female cat war, and it's literally an amazing story. There's little Easter eggs here and there, and there's definitely a new character there that's kind of like her Igor.
Yep.
I wish we knew a little bit more about her. She is very funny. She is very out there. It's a very steampunk look for this house
Yeah,
for being.
definitely. Yeah, she had a very much there was a steampunk aesthetic throughout the entire house, I think.
Yeah, it's something that you would definitely not expect from, a movie that was based around the 1930s, 1940s, to something that we are now all starting to get accustomed. The pop culture changes with, goth culture, steampunk, nerdy stuff, people in the horror community like us. So,
Yeah, exactly. So, one of the things I definitely got to mention again. Actually, this was great for both houses. The facades for both of these houses were insane, with like the amount of detail and just how great they were at preparing you for what you were about to see inside the house.
Yeah, there's a detail that I overlooked a lot, and this is not going to be a surprise for you guys when you guys go through the houses, but this is something that I overlooked that I want to make sure that everybody does. I didn't catch it until the third time. Was that when you're walking through the tunnel before you get to the bride and her monster, her crying over him? There is like this wall that's made out of like almost like castle bricks in a way, and in between the crease, you do see the ending of Bride of Frankenstein, where Frankenstein kills both one of the doctors, bride, and him. Basically, we belong dead. That is the famous quote. And I never bothered to look until like the third time between the creases. So, I thought it was just a random like explosions going on. So I just didn't care. But I finally looked in the crevice. You see the tower falling down from the
Yeah.
movie, and I thought that was a really cool way to like start and then actually give into the facade that you will see in the
hmm
beginning.
Yeah, which was just an amazing facade. Like it's literally you're walking into the ruins of this castle. You see Frankenstein above you, just splayed out with this like huge pillar on top of him because he's just died, and the bride trying to lift it and just screaming because she just lost her husband, and just like
Can
immediately
you
it grabs you.
imagine? Can you
Immediately it just
imagine
grabs you.
how heavy, not heavy, but with the mechanics of how she needs to be lifting that all the time during her scares? Like it's just like I always wondered like what they used to like not make it seem like it's like it's not that heavy, you know what I'm saying? Like that
And
part always like really impresses me.
to be honest, I actually think it might not even be something that she's just straight up lifting. I think it's something that just rises like an I don't know, an animatronic in a sense. So it just rises up and she just moves it to like look like she's lifting it.
That's why I figured, because I
Just
feel like she has to
yeah,
time it right every single time
exactly.
to
Plus
be able
it
to like not miss that mark, to be able to lift it off.
yeah.
But I feel like that's definitely something that struck out to me. And like I said, it's just a costume design because we do see Bride in a lab coat and fluent English. Like I said, that's the another part that doesn't make sense to me. But we do. It's literally the most coolest outfit, and the fact. Another thing that I do want to talk about. Sorry to kind of ramble on a little bit, is that I feel like the only reason these houses were acceptable to open to the public is that it very much does protect the costuming and the look of these characters. So for example, Tooth Fairy, they're a full face mask and they could be wearing a mask underneath and it protects them, and also they're hiding behind plexiglass. With Brides, if you guys remember last year Universal Monsters, we do see the brides just with their natural teeth, makeup and all that other stuff, but this year we do see them with a plastic latex over their face to make it look like it's blending into the skin, but it's pretty much a mask for them. And the fact that the mask was not going to take away from the show is what probably gave them like more time to be able to approve these houses so everybody is safe so we can all have a good event. So I feel like these are probably the only houses they can get away with it. There, because other houses, if for example Beetlejuice, it would not make sense to see Beetlejuice without a mask, with a mask, or with not with or without a mask, because everybody would have to wear face shields, and it just doesn't look good. With Beetlejuice, it wouldn't work with the mask because it will try to bring you back that and remind you that you are living in difficult times. So I'm really glad that they decided to hold off on the Beetlejuice concept of bringing it during this time, and it just wouldn't work. I feel like these houses were perfect for a very taste of what could be HHN 30 next year.
And I will say this, for Bride specifically, the plexiglass didn't hurt the house as much as it did for Tooth Fairy. Because Tooth Fairy, you could tell that without the plexiglass, it was going to be similar to last year's Nightingales, where they were going to get up close and personal, just in your face. That's what it felt like. And obviously the plexiglass would stop that from happening, but it was still there. It was still good. The scares worked better in Bride, even with the plexiglass, because they were still able to play around with it a little bit more and still give us some good stuff.
Yeah, so the thing that the reason why I feel like the plexiglass works better with Brides is because we are in a castle in a way, I guess, and there's a lot of gates and all this other stuff, gates and cellars, tombs with just props and everything and all that stuff, and they can just incorporate it into the scare and it would look like nothing's there.
Yeah.
And they can still come after you. So not that they can still come after you like up in your face, but it will still give that effect. Like for example, I'm just naming one. There is a part where we do see the brides of Dracula locked up, and I didn't notice this until the very last time. There is a cellar that slides open. The plexiglass is still there, but the gate can move, and it looks like she's about to come at you. And that made me jump so much, which is why it's impressive that this plexiglass does work better with Brides than it does with Tooth Fairy.
I agree. It definitely did. But, moving on from that too, I feel like the story in Brides was better. Audio was better because, like you said earlier, I could clearly hear what the bride was saying to move the story forward. Level of detail was just as good as Tooth Fairy's as well. Like, just an insane amount of detail, just insane amount of craftsmanship. Costume design was really good. Costume design was great. And there was also one moment that particularly freaked me out, and it was, I think, on my second walkthrough. I want to talk about it, but at the same time, I feel like it might spoil the house. But let's just say a certain actor, who I didn't know was an actor, I thought it was a mannequin, was following me with his eyes. And that kind of freaked me out because I'm like walking and staring at him at the same time while he's following me while they're following me with their eyes, which was kind of weird.
Damn, I need to go through. I don't think I ever catch that.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things that gets better the more you go through because you start picking up on the other little details and everything like that.
Yeah, so I feel like we covered a lot of the houses
Yeah,
and the HHN light in general. I feel like we're just gonna skim a little bit through Morrow's nightmare. It's just the fact that there's a lot of vlogs out there that covered the event, plus ours, plus a lot of friends. So you're gonna hear a lot about our opinions, and then there's the podcast. So there's a lot of detail there as well. So we decided, our friend Jonathan from Hung Up on Theme Parks invited us to go to Morrow's Nightmare. And it's like near the Tampa area in Riverview, here's Hillsborough County. And yeah, so you want to take it away?
yeah. So, um, it was actually we were invited for the media event over there, and um, we had a chance to walk through the event. There were still a couple things that weren't ready yet, just because of time constraints and the weather had been pretty bad in that area. So there were a couple things that they weren't able to build just yet. And it was good that they let us know about that. But it's a homemade haunt. It's actually the first year that they're doing this haunt. And when I learned that fact, I was blown away because the amount of work that was put into this and just how much fun it was does not seem like it was somebody's first year doing it.
Oh yeah, the fact that I feel like also the owner had so much experience with
Mhm.
his past previous haunts has definitely helped him in this production as well. I feel like the everything that was ever incorporated into this haunt was definitely great for a first year because
Mhm.
normally when you're doing first year haunts, a lot of things are homemade, a lot of things are budgeted. But it just seems like he just contracted a little bit of higher end people just to be able to make this
Yeah.
haunt come true.
Yeah. And not only that, I was really happy too that we got to meet Josh Morrow. He's the one who created the event and everything. Super nice guy. Answered all of our questions. We were some of our questions were regarding the safety guidelines and the safety procedures, and I gotta say they did a really good job of making sure that people were not only having fun at the event but also felt safe in terms of making sure that everybody was wearing masks, um, putting plenty of like hand sanitizer everywhere, making sure that you took a pump of hand sanitizer before you went into any house. Um, just the amount of effort that he put into making sure that everybody was safe was really well. Like I gotta give him major props for that.
So in this haunt, there is a lot of pulsing, and also with like Yusuf said, they do give you a handful of hand sanitizer, or they just kind of tell you to grab it yourself. And the fact that it is not enforced, it is definitely encouraged, but they want you to because they would want to stay as open as any other haunt that
Yeah.
deserves to be open during the time. To wear your mask. We did see in this instance where we did see people walk in without masks, and they really politely tell you to put on a mask,
Hmm.
and and those people gladly complied, and especially since our governor Ron DeSantis was just like, "Hey, you don't need a mask anymore." But everybody's like, "We're not chancing that." So it's definitely great that they're being respectful while also like trying to do a safe event.
Hmm.
And yeah, so there was a lot of scare actors. Well, not a lot of scare actors. Well, basically, there was a lot of characters out in the field, making us feel entertained and welcomed in the event. I don't know. I wish I knew the names of these characters, but there was one with like a bunny mask. She was very, quiet, but I'm pretty sure a lot of the characters wore masks. So everybody was super respectful. And the fact that they would scare you from a very safe distance, especially like if you were taking a selfie and you just noticed that character there. It was just like one of those things like, oh shit, like you were standing there the entire time.
Yeah.
So it's definitely,
It was really funny too during one of your little vlog segments for your YouTube channel that you like talking and I'm watching this character behind you, but you're still talking and it's your reaction when you notice that he's behind you. It's just like the funniest thing that you're just like, yeah, no, no. Oh.
Yeah, and the thing about my videos and vlogs is just like I like to make things funny and awkward. Every time I notice something, I just kind of zoom in on my face, then I zoom in on the subject that I'm noticing. So just things that
Yeah.
I get inspired from watching other vloggers because I just don't want to inform you. I want to entertain you guys and not have you guys click away and be bored of my shit because I know I am starting out. But I definitely have been having fun at these kind of haunts as well. But according to these characters, like they will scare you from far away. They will be super respectful, and like I feel like everybody had a very safe opening
Mhm.
night.
For sure. But yeah, now let's talk about. Oh well, we one character we have to talk about is the man on stilts.
That's Teeny the
Teeny,
clown.
yes, Teeny the clown, who was just he was like
He was a
he was
Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice, yeah, which I loved because he sold it. You could tell that he was having a really good time being that
Yeah.
character.
Yeah, it's just like a very witty,
Yeah.
Beetlejuice attitude. He was very interactive. I mean, the fact that 6 feet apart plus 6 feet above, I feel like is just as well.
Yeah,
That's a small
with
joke, and
mega
that sounds
faith.
very offensive, but I'm sorry. But I think he did a great job. He entertained everybody.
Yeah,
Um, Definitely, kept his distance, had a mask. But it was a fun time. He was definitely in a lot of our vlogs. He was funny. He was
yeah,
always trying to like interact with everybody. Like there was not like a line to meet him, but he will definitely come up to you,
yeah. Like he would just walk
try and
around
make
and stuff.
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like I love that. Like at one point we were all just having a conversation with him, like while he's still in character, and it was like the funniest thing ever.
Yeah, like basically he would come up to our cameras and like, "Oh, can you see me? I know that it's a little bit dark out here, but yeah, do I look good?" That
It's
kind
like
of thing.
he's
So,
just like I know I look good.
yeah, I always
Very
like the
much Beetlejuice, yeah. And but yeah, outside of that, we got to talk about the houses that we experienced over there. Because the first one we did was Vampire Junkyard, which the concept behind that is just so cool because it's literally this junkyard that has been taken over by vampires, and they have interlaced their bodies with metal.
I feel like it's slowly they were fused with metal and steel and in the literal of senses.
Yes,
Metal as in like crap in the junkyard and all that kind of metals that you can think about and the music. There
yeah,
is a lot of
heavy metal
music inspiration into this. I'm surprised that none of our blogs got copyrighted, no, but because there was a lot of copyright
music in there.
music
Yeah,
there. But they did say that they are going to change it when the actual event starts. So it is going to be a little bit more heavier, more original. So nobody gets in trouble if, I think if he allows more of the vlogging style to happen. But definitely a unique concept. It is gory as hell. It's basically one big metal concert in a junkyard with just a big bloody massacre of
yeah.
vampires.
Plus, just chain
And
link fences just everywhere. The lighting was really good because at some points you get really disoriented, but like on purpose, like not that you kind of get confused as to where you need to go, just like disoriented to where you're like, oh god, something's gonna pop out of me, and I'm not gonna see it coming, type of thing.
yeah. So definitely those characters on the house were very talented. They had some really unique skills. I'm not going to spoil it too much because I don't want to say this. Then something happens and he's no longer allowed to do that. I'm just gonna, but it's definitely safe. Definitely
Yeah,
safe.
yeah,
Nothing
for
wrong.
sure.
But but things can happen.
Hmm.
It is so if you do see him there, you guys are going to be like very surprised and extraordinarily impressed with his skills in the vampire
For sure.
junkyard. And there is what's interesting, something that I should mention. What's interesting about this haunt is that they use only 4 to 5 scare actors in each house, but they all have multiple boo holes,
Mhm.
which is super impressive to me. And the fact that they get to scare more than once, and it's just not one scare and then you're done, like until the next group comes. They actually like have the time to have multiple chances to scare you. So I feel like that
Exactly.
was super impressive with what he did.
Yeah, because like they would scare you from one side, and then they would disappear, and then they pop up somewhere else in front of you, scare you again. Very much in line with like that horror movie thing where you see something and then something happens, but then you look again and it disappears, and then when you turn back, it's like right in front of you. So they really played around with that a lot. And it was very well made. The actors did a phenomenal job in all the houses and all the trails that we did there.
Yeah. So I feel like with Vampire Junkyard, it was definitely your second favorite. My at least my second favorite. I don't know if you changed yours
It's my second
since
favorite.
then.
Yeah.
So the next one I'm gonna go over to the next door house, which is the Clownin' Around, which is also called the Fun House. If you look in front of the facade, it definitely looks like a carnival or bounce house, if you guys
Hmm.
if you will actually. And they have it is so vibrant
Yeah.
in there that you just get disoriented by it. So I feel like it's the most not the most detailed. It's the most very vibrant, and they had a lot of creativity in this
Hmm.
house.
Yeah, they really did. They had a lot of nice little like carnival pieces, like a kissing booth, like a ticket box, bouncy castles. Like they just went all out. They were like just full on carnival, but with evil clowns, and it worked. It was really good.
And the clowns are very creative with their voices. It's not
Yeah.
like the high pitch, girly voices. There's not that the really buff, crazy, or silly voices. Like they get really creative with their scares, especially like changing up the voices once in a while. So it's definitely something that you guys should check out because there's a lot. It is very colorful, and there's a part where you get very disoriented and you don't know where to look, and it's just like a little tunnel, and you just don't know where it ends, and then all of a sudden there's a scare for you, and then
Yeah.
you want to cry. So
Yeah. Now we got to talk about the dark. The dark.
the reason why we're kind of like that the first time we did the dark,
Well, let
we
me give you some background. When we were looking at the houses of the areas that they had lined up for us to go through, the dark was advertised as you are put into the situation and it is pitch black. And I had as a child, and I still have a fear of the dark. Of
same.
course, of all things, I'm a horror nut, but I'm also afraid of the dark. And the advertisement did not lie. It is pitch black. Like you cannot see a single thing in there. And it got our anxiety up so high
Through the roof.
through the roof that we didn't even walk into the house before we started screaming for our other friends to be let in with us.
It's an experience that's meant for 2 to 1 person.
Yeah, for either one
And
or two
we
people.
screamed
And
bloody murder because we would not go in unless the alpha goes in,
yeah,
which he swears on his life that he's not, but he is. Um, but yeah, we were screaming bloody murder. We were screaming. I wish Jonathan had recorded us like before going in, like our reaction and stuff. But that's unfortunate. Maybe another time. But just
yeah,
take our word for it. Like I feel like at this point, like if they weren't let in with us, I wasn't gonna go in. I was just like, no, like I'm not. I'm just gonna
yeah.
leave. Just call it a night.
Like, sure, at the moment that we stepped foot in front of the tent, we were like, do we really want to do this right now? Can we do this right now?
Yeah. So no. Um. So they finally let our friends in, and we were all kind of conga lining with each other, and we couldn't see shit. We were trying not to hit anything or anyone, and they just it was a fun time. literally, it's an experience that you can do once, and now that you know that what it is, you don't need to go through it again.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it's a bad thing, but it's definitely something that gets your anxiety up and running the first time. But after you know the second time, like Jonathan doesn't consider it a house. I'm
Yeah.
kind of iffy on that side too,
Yeah,
because
I
I
would
would
say
not
the
consider
same.
it a house, but because it's so short,
Hmm.
literally like it's a 1, 2. That's it. You're done. But it's
Yeah.
but there is something there that could really get your just anxiety up there. Because according to Josh Morrow, this is the house that is supposed to be like the monster under your bed
Yeah.
kind of thing to make you feel like a child because you're afraid of the dark, which me and Yusuf have that fear as well.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that the people that were working at the hunt, like making sure that were letting us through into the house, they must have been laughing their asses off at us because
Yeah.
I'm sure that you heard is me saying, "What the fuck?" and "Oh my god."
I'm dying. Sorry if you guys are seeing me on
Like straight
my
up,
drink water, and I was just
straight up. That is, I'm sure that's what they heard.
like, what the fuck?
Like,
What the
yeah, it's like, what the fuck is that?
So, imagine being a kid in the dark. That's all
Yeah.
you need to know. Because I'm pretty sure we all had that imagination once at some point in our childhood.
Exactly.
So the next one we are going to talk about, well, it's technically the last house, but not really.
Yeah, I think this one was more of a trail than an actual house.
I agree. So this one was definitely one of the longest houses. I think according to Josh Morrow that it is the
Mhm.
largest by a little bit more than Vampire Junkyard. But it's called Stitched Nightmares, and it's basically a voodoo ambience type house, very voodoo esque with a lot of magical creatures, as you guys would like to call it, and a lot of cult stuff. So we
Oh
go
yeah.
in, and for me, I genuinely enjoyed the facade being this one because it does really seem like you are walking through a bayou type house, and you get to go inside and look at all the lovely friends in there. I feel like there was a little bit more than maybe 5 actors in
I
that
think
one
so.
because it is so vast and big.
Yeah.
But it's definitely very dark, but it's not as dark as the dark. Weird wording there, but it's a little bit hard to see. And then in the beginning, there are parts where you kind of get confused that you don't know where to go because it does seem like it's creating multiple
Yeah.
paths.
Which at
But
the same time, part this is something that Josh was explaining to us as well. It was originally on the original concept, it was gonna have multiple paths for you to go through, but because of the
oh man,
size of what they were trying to do, they didn't have the space to do it, which is very unfortunate. So that would have been really cool. But you can tell that some of that was put in there because there are certain parts where you kind of get disoriented and you're like, wait, where do I go? Where am I? Like, it's a little hard to get your bearings.
the scare actors are really good at directing
Oh
you where
yeah.
you need to go, especially like if you're confused. They'll scare you, then they'll direct you. I'm like, oh, you're nice, like kind of thing. So we were in there. There's parts where we do look like we're on water and all that other stuff. A lot of creative scares there, a lot of boo holes. And according to Josh Morrow, they even had like the details of uh, little twines or in the top or make it look like the house or the trail is like stitched together.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a really cool thing that he mentioned. And I never really got to see it because I was too scared for my life. So if you guys see that video, Yusuf, you should drop the link
Yeah.
below. And we literally were screaming our heads off. I mean, me and Yusuf are the chicken of the group. We love horror stuff.
We
Definitely.
scare easily.
Oh, we scare easily. we'll go to haunts. We'll
yeah.
get scared all day, every
No
day.
problem.
But I think the dark was definitely that one house that we were just like not sure if we were even gonna
Yeah,
go through with it and all that stuff.
truly anxiety inducing. But
Yeah,
wow.
but
But
we really do truly enjoy going to haunts and getting scared because
yeah.
it's just the adrenaline rush that gets us and the creativity and feeling that we're in a horror film is what's it's like we're very impressed or nah, bleh. Now I don't know how to word this. It's really late. Like
So I gotta say this. There was this one actor in Unstitched Nightmares that freaked me out so much because you're just like walking down this like little hallway, and all of a sudden this guy just pops out in front of you and just like crawls on the ground and just disappears again. You're like, no, no, I ain't going in there
yeah,
because it straight up just looks like it's this animal human hybrid just like walking like just speeding past, and it was so scary.
yeah, you know those shadows that you see in the corner of your eye? It looked like that.
That's what it felt like. Yeah.
I
And
think one
also
of them is like Yusef got scared so bad that
I made him laugh. Yeah. He
yeah,
got me so scared that I made him laugh.
so bad. I was like, oh my god, no, you're doing great. I promise. I know that he sounds hilarious.
Yeah, and I'm pretty. It's my reaction is actually I that's one of the ones that we recorded of us inside the inside of the trail. So I'll point it out. I'll do a little quick shout out on that section of the video because it was really funny. And also I got to give major props to the Voodoo Queen character. She was so good in this, like so good.
Yeah, she really helps like tell the story of
Mhm.
what she wants to tell you, and it is very story leading, which
Yeah.
is why I feel like this felt like the more of the complete concept for a haunted house in a way. So besides Vampire Junkyard, I feel
Mhm.
like also had like a storyline to it. But yeah, I feel like this is definitely one of their stories that were pretty solid.
Yeah, for sure. And again, like Josh was explaining to us, they had a lot of issues getting set up, and the fact that they had so many issues, but they still gave us such a good event. Like I really
I
want
wouldn't
to.
have noticed the flaws.
No,
I
if
wouldn't
they hadn't pointed it out, I wouldn't have noticed them. Um, so that makes me extremely excited to see what their finished product is going to look like when they're able to get everything straightened out and put together.
Yeah, I'm really
Because
excited.
from what they were telling us, it's like a completely different event, and I'm like, that's awesome. Like I want to make the drive back over there and re-experience that.
Yeah, they have like little areas for the kids to play. I
Yeah.
mean, it's supposed to be kind of family friendly, but that's not the look he's trying to go for. But they do know that we're a little bit of a smaller haunt and all that stuff, so they are trying to make it to incorporate everybody. They have like a pumpkin patch where you can go pick one. But I'm pretty sure buy it off
Yeah.
of them, I think, and then so you can have something to carve out for the season. And so they do have activities for your little kitties if that's just something that you are looking for as well.
Yeah, it's definitely he tried to cater to everybody, and I think for the most part, I mean, again, not everything was up to 100% yet, but from what we saw of like the kids and family area, it looked like it was going to be a lot of fun for them, and kind of a little like version of a haunt for the kids, where you had like this little hallway with the animatronics, which was really
That's
cool.
Snap and Scream. The reason why I say it like that is because they tricked me.
Yeah, we kind of tricked you into walking into it. They tried to trick me into walking into it, but they kind of used you as a guinea pig because I was like, I know they're trying to do something. I ain't gonna fall for it. But I'm so happy that I think all three of us got your reaction on video, and it was
Yeah,
like the
Jonathan
funniest
posted
thing.
it. He didn't
Yeah.
post it.
Oh, you
Neither
didn't?
did Christy. So
Oh,
you're gonna have
you
to
know
edit
I'm
it.
gonna be posting.
I really want to see what my reaction looks like from another
You
point
know
of
I'm
view.
definitely gonna be posting it.
So basically, they were like, "Oh, Phoenix, go inside this snap and scare or snap and scream or whatever." And it's basically a little house tenty thingy with animatronics that you would normally see at Lowe's Spirit Halloween and Home
Depot.
Depot and all that kind of stuff. But it was cute. So they were sending me in. I assumed that there was going to be a scare actor there, at least one, which I thought I caught her. So I was just like, okay. So I go in, I'm vlogging, and I kind of like say like, oh, like they want me to go in here by myself, so I'm just gonna go. I go, and you clearly see me that I'm nervous as hell in my vlog, just like I don't know what to expect. So when I turn to a corner, I see one of the scare actors there, and she's just chilling, and they're like, I'm like, hey, what's up? I'm gonna go. And then the minute I start looking at Sammy, I see something move in the corner of my eye, and it's the bunny rabbit scare actor. She was so still, and I screamed literally so much. I was like, fuck. And then literally I walked out, and I'm
You
like,
didn't walk
hey,
out.
everybody.
You did not walk out. You ran out of there.
Yeah, I kind of ran.
Your ass booked it out of there.
And then I just came out and just cursed them out, and it was fantastic.
It was
so
really
if you guys
funny.
want to see that video, that's also in my vlog as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was. It's a cute little thing for the kids, but hopefully there's no scare actors where they scared me just as bad.
It was really funny though, because like as I was walking through the animatronics, I was like, "Hey, I've seen that. I saw that at Home Depot. Hey, I've seen that one. I saw that at Home Depot too." And I'm just like, "Oh god."
He really likes Home Depot.
No, I don't really like Home Depot. I like working for Home Depot. They pay my bills. It's not where I see myself working in the future.
He really, really likes it.
Yeah, I like it.
There's a lot that has been going into Morrow's Nightmare, and it's a pretty solid event. So if you guys are in the Tampa area, or if you guys want to make the drive from wherever you are to check it out, that's something that you should definitely check out. For being a first-year hunt, it has impressed me with the safety measures, the scares, the houses, and basically everything that they got to offer. So I don't know if this was just for media night, but they're so hospitable that they
very
like
nice.
they gave us candy. They also gave us bug spray, and we were getting bit up pretty freaking bad.
Very important that we got that.
They gave us bug spray, and they gave us extra mask if you needed it, hand sanitizer, that kind of thing. So very nice people.
Yeah. So yeah, like right off the bat, there's 3 things I can say. It's safe, family friendly, great scares. So
family friendly in the sense of the houses, unless you want to teach your child how to man up. But
no, I mean
in
like
the sense that they do have stuff for kids.
and just
that's what he means by
exactly like just making sure that they added something so kids could go in there as well.
And they also have 2 non-alcoholic drinks. I don't know what the names of those are, but they actually have those sugary drinks for the kids to have. So they could actually have a little bit of sugar in their system. So you can keep on running through those houses longer and keep their energy up until they crash into nighty night.
Oh, also, that's actually another thing that we definitely got to mention. So their ticket is $30, but here's the cool part: you pay the $30 once, and then you can go into those houses and the trail and everything as many times as you want. As many times as you want.
Yeah, so it's not as other haunts does. Like you pay once and then you experience it once and then get out.
And that's it.
But the one thing that I will advise you guys is that please get there early.
Yeah.
Their parking is not ideal. Yeah, ideal in the sense that they do have the space to at least hold. In a perfect world, 50 cars.
Yeah.
But will everybody actually park? Not like an asshole. Probably not. So get there early if you guys are planning on staying there for a really long time. When it comes to rain, if you live in Florida, there are rain or shine. But if it is raining really, really heavy, they will be very generous, and they'll let you come another day, especially if the haunt gets too flooded, because they are in a swampy area, and they don't also want it to ruin what you have spent for that night, and they'll let you come back in another day. And also, this also does apply to like lightning and thunder warnings. I think anything with storms are like potentially dangerous.
Exactly.
Dangerous, but yeah.
Yeah. another thing too is they're relatively small haunts, so their capacity isn't that big either. So if you're planning to go over there again, make sure you get there early because you don't want to be there after they reach capacity in case they do, because otherwise they can't let you in. So
Yeah, I agree. Just like any other haunt that's small, they all start somewhere, and yeah. So
yeah. But yeah, I think we have said all we wanted to say for both haunts, for both HHN and for Morrow's Nightmare. I had a blast at both events. I had a blast talking about them.
yeah, I definitely enjoyed HHN Light. I haven't been back since
Me
they
neither.
announced the multiple nights or the multiple days. Sorry, days. But yeah, it's definitely something that I need to check out before I get busy. But yeah, and especially Morrow's Nightmare. If you guys are interested in doing that, do that one as well. Uh, I feel like they're both great investments, especially if you are an annual pass holder or not. They do have that specialty in Universal where you do buy a day and you get the rest of the year for free up till December 21st, or not 21st, 24th. And, you know, you get to go to Universal as much as you want, and the houses are up until the end of the Halloween season.
So plenty of opportunities to get a chance to check everything out there. And
You guys have like 20 something days.
yeah,
Or maybe a little bit less than that, but
yeah,
that's still a lot of, that's a handful of days. There's 24 hours in a day. You can do it.
yeah. So don't if you get the chance to definitely go for it. Don't miss out.
People
You
are in the
okay?
camera gonna be looking like, no, I'm just, shaking these horror willies, I guess.
Oh man.
But yeah,
All right. So yeah,
like
like I said,
the end of our podcast. I mean, we just talked a lot, and
yeah.
there's just a lot of things that we needed to cover. But so I will mention that this is our first podcast with video on YouTube. So hopefully, you guys are watching us. We're probably making like silly faces, me drinking water, me trying not to be a mouth breather, that kind of thing, because I am. It's a condition, but it's not that serious. I'll live. But other than that, like I'm pretty sure you're gonna have fun with all our reactions
Oh yeah.
here as well. So where can we find us, Yusef?
Yeah. So we are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Spotify, Anchor, and Apple Podcasts as Sounds from the Grave. Definitely give us a follow or a like on any one of those. Reach out to us on either one of the social media platforms. Tell us stuff that you want us to talk about or things that you have ideas about, or even what we thought about or you thought about the last episode, and just start a debate or a discussion with us. We love talking to you guys. We have a lot of fun doing that. But what about you, VNix? Where can we find you?
So I am more makeup and vlogging and talking all things horror on my channel. I am HHN Cultist on YouTube and on Twitter. I post a lot of like makeup looks on Twitter, and I also like retweet a lot of like things from haunts, theme parks, and all that kind of stuff. So if that's something that you guys are into, give me a follow. I love interacting with the horror community. Everybody on Twitter is so nice, and everybody in this haunt community is just amazing. So more friends, the more the merrier.
And again, stay tuned to the YouTube because there will be a lot more being posted outside of just the podcast. There's already 2 videos on there. One of them about a failed Spirit Halloween trip that I went on because it was a complete disaster.
It was
And
fun.
it was really funny though. And also, I had a video up where I talked about the upcoming Resident Evil Netflix series. And also, at the time of this recording, I saw this earlier today. Netflix also announced that they're doing a live action movie reboot of Resident Evil. So I
That's really
am
cool.
hyped as fuck because they released the cast today and it looks awesome. Like the casting is pitch perfect. So
Man, I cannot wait for that to
yeah,
come out as well. That's gonna be really cool.
yeah. And another thing that I've been doing on there as well is I've been streaming some spooky horror based video games. So if you guys want to see me play video games and get scared, come join up. Um, and there'll be, like I said, there's gonna be some more stuff coming up. There's gonna be an upcoming video on a movie theory of mine concerning a very strange connection between a very visceral, crazy horror movie, and a much beloved sci-fi movie. So stay tuned for that because I think you guys are going to be really surprised by how much of a connection there is between the two.
Man, I wish I was doing these kind of things, but I'm also busy on my end as well. But I will pop into the Sounds of the Great podcast here and there. I mean, for me, I'm just mostly part of the podcast, but I do stuff here and there.
Oh yeah, there's definitely going to be some activities that we're going to be doing together for the YouTube channel. I know there's the one
we're
we
just
did.
both busy people. That's the problem.
And there is one we discussed that I am very excited to do. And I'm not going to spoil it, but Phoenix knows what it is.
Do I?
Oh yeah, well, we'll talk about it later again. I'll remind you. But I'm excited to do it. But
What?
but yeah, I mean, I think this is the end of this podcast episode. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. You stuck through all the end. And, you gave us a listen and you liked it. So.
Sounds good. Good night, y'all.
Have a good night, everybody. We'll talk to you later. Bye.